Good evening, my little creatures of the night. Mr. Wendigo back again with your late night creature feature. Before we begin, I'm curious. Where are you listening from tonight? Alone in your room? Driving through empty roads? Drop a comment and let me know. I like knowing who's out there in the dark with me. Now then, let's see what tonight's tale brings us. The Upload. Kyle Hartman had been filming abandoned buildings for 3 years, started with a GoPro and a flashlight, posting shaky footage to a channel nobody watched. 18 subscribers for the first 6 months, most of them bots, probably, but he kept at it, every weekend, sometimes weeknights, driving to forgotten places and pointing his camera at decay. Now he had 47,000 subscribers, a decent camera rig that had cost him 3 months' rent, and a reputation for going places other explorers wouldn't touch. He'd done the Greenfield Asylum in Ohio, the Waverly Hills maintenance tunnels, that collapsed church in rural Pennsylvania where 2 explorers had disappeared in 2019. His comments section called him fearless. Kyle knew he wasn't fearless. He was just desperate enough to pretend. Blackwood State Hospital was supposed to be his breakout video, the one that pushed him over 50,000 subscribers, maybe even 100,000, if he played it right. The algorithm loved creepy content in October, and Blackwood was the holy grail of creepy, a location so notorious that other explorers refused to document it. The place had been closed since '91. Before that, it was the kind of facility people whispered about in urban explorer forums, experimental treatments that would make a Nazi scientist nervous, patients who checked in and never checked out, a whole wing that supposedly died in one night back in '71. The records were sealed by court order. The building was condemned 3 times over. And every urban explorer in the Northeast had the same unwritten rule about Blackwood: don't film inside. Kyle thought that was bullshit. Ghost stories to keep out the competition. Fear-mongering from explorers who wanted to protect their favorite locations from being overexposed. He'd heard the same warnings about a dozen other places, and every single time he'd gone in with his camera rolling and come out with nothing but great footage and a spike in views. He'd been planning this trip for months, scouting reports from forums, entry points mapped and photographed, floor plans from the original architectural firm, found on an obscure website dedicated to preserving historical building documents. He knew Blackwood better than some of the people who'd worked there. He knew which doors were sealed and which ones had been pried open. He knew which floors had collapsed and which ones were still stable. He knew everything except what was waiting for him inside. He pulled into the access road around 9 p.m. on a Thursday night in October, killed his headlights, and sat in the car for a minute just looking at the place. 4 stories of red brick and broken windows, half swallowed by oak trees that had grown wild since the last groundskeeper walked away 30 years ago. The main building stretched out in both directions, wings branching off like arms reaching for something they couldn't quite grab. A clock tower rose from the center, its face dark, hands frozen at 3:17 for decades. Nobody knew why the clock had stopped at that particular time. Nobody wanted to know. The moon was full tonight, good for ambient lighting. Less flashlight work meant better footage, more atmosphere, that natural creepy glow that his audience loved. His phone buzzed. Emerson Williams, roommate, best friend, unofficial safety net for every dangerous thing Kyle had ever done. "You there yet?" Looking at it right now, Kyle checked his camera bag one more time. 3 backup batteries, fully charged. 2 64-gig SD cards, freshly formatted. His Sony A7S III with the f 1.4 lens for low light, the best camera he'd ever owned, bought with the ad revenue from his Waverly Hills video, a handheld gimbal for smooth tracking shots. Professional gear for what he hoped would be a professional-grade video. Place is massive, dude. Even bigger than the photos. This is gonna be good. "I still think you should wait until I can come with you." Emerson's voice was scratchy. He'd been fighting the flu for a week. coughing up something that looked like it belonged in a Blackwood patient's file. Going solo is stupid. You know the rules. You literally made a video about the rules. You've got the plague, and I'm not waiting another 2 weeks. Someone else is going to beat me to this. Danny from Urban Decay posted last week that he was scoping locations in upstate New York. If he gets to Blackwood first, I'm fucked. All my planning, all my prep, wasted. He's got twice my subscriber count. He'll bury me. So let Danny get killed by whatever's in there. There's nothing in there except mold and broken glass, and maybe some homeless people who'll run the second they see my flashlight. Same as every other place. Kyle grabbed his gear and stepped out of the car. The air was cold for October, crisp with the smell of dead leaves and something else underneath, something chemical. Faint but present, old building smell. Mold and rust and decades of neglect baking in summer heat and freezing in winter cold until the whole place smelled like a tomb. I'll be fine. I've done this 100 times. Not at Blackwood. Blackwood is different. Everyone says Blackwood is different. According to who? The same forums that said Waverly Hills had actual ghosts? The same people who think every abandoned building has a demon in the basement? Kyle started walking toward the east entrance, the one his scouting report said was easiest to access. Chain-link fence with a gap in the corner where the posts had rusted through. Service door with a padlock that had been cut years ago and never replaced. Standard entry. Textbook infiltration. It's just a building, Em. A creepy, photogenic building that's gonna get me a lot of views and finally push me over 50K. Just be careful, man. Text me every hour, and if anything feels wrong, anything at all, then I leave. I know. I'm not an idiot. Debatable. I'll text you when I'm out. Probably 3, 4 hours. Maybe 5 if the East Wing is as good as the reports say. You better. I mean it, Kyle. Every hour on the hour. If I don't hear from you, I'm calling the cops. Yes, Mom. Kyle hung up and pocketed his phone. He stood at the entrance for a moment, a service door, rusted hinges, hanging half open like an invitation, or like bait in a trap that had been waiting decades for someone stupid enough to walk into it. The darkness inside was complete, total, the kind of dark that seemed to push back against his flashlight beam, reluctant to let the light in, resentful of the intrusion. He mounted the camera on the gimbal, checked the settings, adjusted the ISO for low light, hit record. Red light blinking, rolling. What's up, Night Owls? Kyle here from After Dark Explores. I'm standing outside Blackwood State Hospital in upstate New York. If you know, you know. If you don't, this place has been abandoned since 1991, and nobody films here. I mean nobody. There are maybe 3 videos of the exterior online, all shot from the road with telephoto lenses, and 0, I repeat 0, interior footage anywhere on the internet. There's a reason for that, supposedly. Urban legend stuff, creepypasta bullshit, but your boy's about to find out if the legends are true. He smiled for the camera, confident, excited, the smile of a man who didn't believe in anything he couldn't touch, couldn't film, couldn't upload for views. Let's see what Blackwood is hiding. He stepped inside. The first floor was standard decay, the kind Kyle had seen in 100 other abandoned buildings. Water damage on the ceiling tiles, some of which had collapsed entirely, leaving gaps that showed rusted pipes and electrical conduits like exposed bones. Graffiti on the walls, older stuff, faded, from the first wave of explorers back in the early 90s before the legend started keeping people away. Johnny was here, 1994. A crude drawing of a skull with X's for eyes, the anarchist A in a circle, sprayed in red paint that had faded to pink. Kyle swept his camera across an admissions desk, its surface warped and buckled from decades of water damage. Filing cabinets hanging open and empty, their contents long since rotted or removed by someone who didn't want the records getting out. A wheelchair with one wheel missing propped against a wall. The leather seat cracked and peeling, a single brown stain on the armrest that could have been coffee or could have been something else entirely. Classic asylum vibes, he narrated, keeping his voice low and even, professional. Check out this wheelchair. These things are always creepy, right? You can imagine the patients being wheeled down these halls, not knowing where they were going or what was going to happen to them. Blackwood specialized in electroshock therapy, insulin shock, ice baths, lobotomies in the later years, the kind of treatments that we'd call torture now, but back then they called it medicine. He moved deeper into the building, documenting everything. A reception area with a collapsed ceiling, debris piled on what had once been a waiting room, a hallway lined with doors, most of them hanging open on rusted hinges, patient rooms, from the look of them, small, bare, 8 by 10 at most, barely enough space for a bed and a nightstand. Some still had bed frames, rusted metal, mattresses long gone but the springs remaining like metal skeletons. Some had restraints bolted to the frame's leather straps, now stiff and cracked, attached to the corners where wrists and ankles would go. Jesus, look at these restraints. Kyle zoomed in on one of the beds, making sure to capture the detail. This is the real shit, people. This isn't a movie set. Actual patients were strapped to these beds, some of them for days at a time, according to the records I could find. They'd restrain patients who were difficult, which could mean anything from violent to just asking too many questions. Whatever happened here, it wasn't healing, it wasn't therapy. It was control. He texted Emerson, "Hour 1, first floor clear, going up." The reply came immediately. "Be careful. Something feels wrong tonight. I don't know why." Kyle pocketed his phone and headed for the stairs. The stairwell was dark, darker than it should have been, even without power. His flashlight beam seemed to get swallowed by the shadows, revealing only a few feet of cracked concrete steps at a time. The walls were covered in more graffiti, but this stuff was different. Not tags or crude drawings. Words written in what looked like marker, the same phrase over and over in different handwriting. "Don't go up. Don't go up. Don't go up." Kyle filmed it, smiling slightly. "Somebody really wants to keep explorers out of the upper floors. Nice try, guys. Points for commitment." He climbed anyway. Second floor, third floor, each one more decayed than the last, water damage worsening as he rose, ceiling sagging dangerously, floor soft in places where the subflooring had rotted through. He tested each step before putting his full weight on it, the way he'd learned after nearly falling through a floor in an abandoned factory in Detroit. On the second floor, he found a nurse's station with a shattered window, medication shelves empty except for a single brown bottle so old the label had faded to illegibility. He filmed it, speculating about what drugs they might have used, Thorazine, probably, or one of the other heavy sedatives popular in mid-century psychiatric care. On the third floor, he found an operating theater with a rusted table in the center, drainage channels still visible on the floor, designed to carry away blood and other fluids, leather straps on the table. A tray of surgical instruments on a nearby cart, rusted but recognizable scalpels, forceps, something that looked disturbingly like an ice pick. "This is where they did the lobotomies," Kyle said, his voice hushed despite himself. "See that instrument there? That's a leucotome. They'd insert it through the eye socket and sweep it back and forth to sever connections in the frontal lobe. They called it a cure for mental illness. Thousands of patients went through this procedure, here and at hospitals like this across the country. Most of them were never the same. On the same floor, he found a hydrotherapy room with 3 massive tubs, each one big enough to hold a person, with heavy straps on the sides and lids that could be locked in place. "This is where they did the ice baths," Kyle explained, running his hand along the edge of one of the tubs. "They'd fill these with ice water and submerge patients for hours, sometimes days." It was supposed to calm them down, shock their systems into normalcy. Mostly it just gave them hypothermia. Some of them died. The ones who didn't were usually too weak to cause trouble anymore, which I guess was the point. 3 hours in, he reached the east wing. This was what he'd come for, the sealed wing, the one that supposedly died in a single night in 1971, 47 patients and 6 staff members, all dead before sunrise. No survivors, no witnesses. The official cause was a gas leak, carbon monoxide poisoning, case closed. But the conspiracy forums had other theories, experimental drugs being tested on patients, government mind control programs gone wrong, a disease that killed fast and killed quiet, something worse that nobody wanted to put into words, something that the graffiti on the walls kept warning about. The doors to the east wing were different from the others, heavy, metal, industrial, fire doors, maybe, or containment doors, built to keep whatever was inside from getting out. They'd been welded shut at some point. Kyle could see the scorch marks around the edges. Professional work, meant to be permanent, though someone had since cut through the welds with a torch. Explorers, probably, or scrappers looking for copper wire, or someone else entirely. He pushed through. Okay, we're in the East Wing now. This is where it supposedly happened. 1971, the night of 47. Some people call it online. Everyone in this wing, patients, nurses, orderlies, even the doctor on duty, all dead in one night, and nobody's ever explained how. Gas leak is the official story, but there's no record of any gas being used in this wing. No gas lines, no explanation that actually makes sense. He swung his camera to show the walls. The graffiti here was different from the rest of the building. Not tags and crude drawings, words, warnings, written over and over in dozens of different hands, in spray paint and marker, and what looked disturbingly like dried blood, brown and flaking. Don't film, don't film, don't look. It sees you. Don't film, don't film, don't film. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. The camera lets it out. Don't film. Well, that's not creepy at all. Kyle laughed, but it came out thin, forced. Something about the intensity of the warnings, the desperation in the different handwriting styles, made it hard to dismiss entirely. Somebody really committed to the bit, huh? Years of work, dozens of people, all to scare off explorers. I gotta respect the dedication, even if I don't buy it. He kept filming. Of course he kept filming. That was the whole point. That was why he was here. That was what his audience expected. The East Wing was worse than the rest of the building. More decay, more damage, ceiling tiles hanging by threads, ready to fall at any moment. Walls stained with something dark that had dripped down from above, and something else, a smell that cut to the usual mold and rot, something sharper, almost chemical. Almost like formaldehyde mixed with something sweeter, like flowers left too long in a vase, like something that had been preserved for a long time and was finally starting to break down. Kyle found the main ward at the end of the hall, a long room with rows of beds on either side, 24 in total, like a barracks, like a prison. Most of the beds still had frames, rusted but intact, and some of them still had mattresses or what was left of mattresses, rotted fabric and exposed springs, and stains, dark stains. Body-shaped stains, concentrated on the beds but spreading to the floor around them, as if whatever had made them had leaked and pooled and dried over 5 decades. Holy shit, Kyle's voice dropped to barely a whisper. Are those stains from the bodies? From 71? They look like... Jesus. They look like outlines, like chalk outlines at a crime scene, but made of whatever was left. He moved closer, camera capturing everything. The beds, the stains, the ceiling tiles hanging loose like they'd been clawed at from below. The windows, boarded from the outside but with gaps that let in thin bars of moonlight that fell across the beds like prison bars. He spent 30 minutes filming the ward. Every angle, every detail, every stain and scratch and piece of forgotten horror. This was gold. This was exactly what his channel needed. This would push him past 50,000 subscribers easy, maybe even get him featured on one of the bigger horror channels. He didn't notice the figure in the doorway behind him. It was there for exactly 3 frames of footage, 3 frames out of 30 frames per second, a tenth of a second of visibility, tall, thin. Standing motionless in the door he just walked through, silhouetted against the slightly lighter darkness of the hallway. By the time Kyle turned around to head back, it was gone. He never saw it, never heard it, never felt anything except the faint chill that he'd been attributing to the October night and the lack of heating in a building that had been abandoned for 3 decades. But the camera saw it. The camera saw everything. Kyle got home around 2:30 in the morning. Emerson was asleep on the couch, phone in his hand, clearly having tried to wake up. Kyle didn't wake him. He didn't feel like talking anyway. He felt weird, not scared, exactly. More like drained, hollow, like something had been taken out of him during those hours in Blackwood, some vital energy he hadn't known he possessed until it was gone. He chalked it up to adrenaline crash. 5 hours of exploration in a dark, creepy building, alone, waiting for something to jump out at every corner. Normal to feel depleted afterward. He uploaded the raw footage to his computer and started editing. This was the part he usually loved, cutting together the best shots, adding ambient music, building atmosphere through pacing and timing. The raw footage was almost 4 hours. He cut it down to 43 minutes, keeping the best moments, the creepiest shots, the most atmospheric angles. The East Wing stuff was incredible. Even on his monitor, even without the music and sound design he'd add later, it looked genuinely terrifying. He worked until nearly 5 a.m., eyes burning, hands cramped from the mouse and keyboard. Scheduled the video to go live at 8 p.m. Friday night, prime time for horror content, when his audience was home and looking for something scary to watch. Then he crashed on the couch next to Emerson, too tired to make it to his bedroom. The video dropped on schedule. Kyle woke up around 7 p.m., groggy and disoriented, with Emerson shaking his shoulder. "Dude, your video's been live for an hour. Check your phone." Kyle grabbed his phone, squinting at the screen. 112 views in the first hour. Not bad, but not great. Average for his channel. He'd hoped for more, given the location, but maybe the audience would build over the weekend. He went back to sleep. When he woke up again at midnight, everything had changed. 14,000 views, 327 comments. His phone was blowing up with notifications, new subscribers, comments, shares, people tagging their friends, people posting screenshots on Twitter and Reddit and Instagram. His video was trending in horror circles, spreading faster than anything he'd ever made. Holy shit. He sat up on the couch, scrolling frantically through his phone. Emerson. Emerson appeared in the doorway to his bedroom, still looking like death warmed over from the flu, but curious, despite himself. "What? What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong. Everything's right. 14,000 views overnight. This is the biggest video I've ever had, by like a factor of 10. "Congrats, man." Emerson coughed into his elbow. "Maybe now you can pay your half of the rent on time. Check out these comments. People are losing their minds." He started reading. Most of the comments were normal, the kind he got on every video. "Sick video, bro. Blackwood is legendary. Can't believe you actually went in. That East Wing was creepy as fuck. You've got balls of steel, dude. I would have noped out so fast." But some of them weren't normal at all. The first one that caught his eye was from a user named Paranormal Page, someone with a verified checkmark and 100,000 followers of her own. Okay, is anyone else seeing this? Pause at 1247. Second floor hallway. Right after he passes the nurse's station. Look at the doorway on the left side of the frame. There's someone standing there. Kyle frowned. He'd watched the footage a dozen times while editing. He hadn't seen anyone. He would have noticed someone in his footage that was the whole point of his job, paying attention to what the camera captured. He scrolled down. More comments. All timestamps. All pointing to things in the video he hadn't noticed. Skeptical Steve 9-1. You guys are reaching. That's just shadows and pareidolia. Your brains are making shapes out of nothing because you want to see something. There's nobody there. Paranormal page. Steve, I literally outlined it in this screenshot. Look at the shape. That's a person. That's clearly a person. You can see the shoulders, the head, the way it's just standing there watching him walk past. This isn't pareidolia. Nightmares fuel. Bro check 2315 too. Behind him when he's looking at the wheelchair. Same exact shape. It's following him through the building. Urban Decay Danny. Holy shit, Kyle, what did you film? I told you Blackwood was different. I told you not to go there. Shadow Hunter 666. I've watched this video 4 times now. There are at least 8 appearances. It gets closer every single time. This is the most disturbing thing I've ever seen on YouTube. Kyle's stomach turned over. He opened the video on his laptop, jumped to 1247, and paused. Second floor hallway. He'd been walking, narrating something about the water damage. Doorway on the left, leading into one of the patient rooms. There was nothing there. He looked closer, adjusted the brightness on his monitor, squinted at the pixels. Wait, there was something there. Faint, hard to see, easy to miss if you weren't looking for it, if you didn't know exactly where to focus. But once he saw it, he couldn't unsee it. A shape in the doorway, tall, thin, just standing there in the dark, half hidden by shadows. A head, shoulders, the suggestion of arms hanging at its sides. Watching him walk past, not moving, not reacting, just watching. What the fuck? He jumped to 2315, the wheelchair shot. He'd been narrating about the wheelchair, camera focused on the rusted metal and the missing wheel. But in the background, way in the background, at the far end of the hallway, barely visible in the darkness, there was a shape, the same shape, tall, thin, closer than before. What the fuck? Emerson came over, looking over his shoulder at the screen. What's wrong? There's something in my footage. Look. Kyle pointed at the screen with a shaking finger. There, in the hallway. There's something standing there. Emerson squinted. I don't see anything. It's just dark. Look harder. Right there. That dark shape that's darker than the rest of the dark. The outline of a head and shoulders. A long pause. Kyle watched Emerson's face, watched his eyes scanning the screen, watched the exact moment when the shape resolved out of the shadows, and his roommate's expression went from skeptical to horrified. Oh shit, I see it. Kyle, what the hell is that? I don't know. I didn't see it when I was there. I didn't see anything. I would have noticed someone following me. I'm always checking my surroundings, always aware of what's behind me, but it's in the video. And according to the comments, it's in every shot from the east wing, getting closer, following me through my own footage. He went back to the comments. They were multiplying now, faster than he could read them. More timestamps, more screenshots. Someone had already made a compilation video of every appearance posted in the last 2 hours, already at 50,000 views, and they'd found 11. 11 times the shape appeared in Kyle's 43-minute video, starting distant, in the background, easy to miss, getting closer with each shot, hunting him through the east wing like a predator stalking prey. The last appearance was at 41:22. Kyle filming the exit, narrating his closing thoughts, camera pointed at the door to the east wing as he prepared to leave. And there, maybe 10 feet behind him, standing in the middle of the hallway, almost entirely in shadow but definitely, undeniably there. The shape, close enough now that Kyle could make out details even through the darkness and compression. A hospital gown, stained and tattered. Long arms hanging at its sides, too long, the proportions slightly wrong. A face that was somehow blurred, even when the rest of the frame was sharp and clear, like the camera itself couldn't bear to focus on it, like the lens was flinching away. "It was right behind me," Kyle whispered. "It was right fucking behind me and I didn't know. I didn't hear anything. I didn't feel anything. And it was 10 feet away." His phone buzzed. New comment notification. He looked down. User deleted. Comment: "You shouldn't have filmed there. You shouldn't have uploaded this. Every view feeds it. Every share spreads it. And now everyone who watches, it can see them too. Through their screens, through their cameras. It's not stuck in Blackwood anymore. You let it out. Delete this video. Delete it now before it spreads any further." Kyle stared at the comment. His hands were trembling. Then he refreshed the page. The comment was gone. The account that posted it no longer existed, like it had never been there at all. The view count hit 20,000. Kyle spent the next 4 days obsessed with the footage. He went frame by frame through all 43 minutes, all 111,920 frames. He downloaded software that could enhance dark images, pull detail out of shadows, sharpen blurry shapes. He spent hours in one section, then another, scrubbing back and forth, zooming in until the pixels fell apart into meaningless noise. He found appearances he'd missed before many more than the original 11 the comments had spotted, 27 total, once he knew what to look for and had the tools to find them. The shape was in almost every scene filmed in the East Wing, sometimes in the background, barely visible, sometimes reflected in glass windows, the polished surface of medical equipment, once in the lens of a broken camera he'd found on a shelf, once, horrifyingly, in the window behind him outside the building, 3 stories up, with nothing to stand on, just floating there, watching. He made a spreadsheet, timestamps, locations, estimated distance from camera, type of appearance direct, reflected, peripheral, notes on visibility, on posture, on any discernible details. The pattern was unmistakable. Whatever it was getting closer with each appearance, starting at the far end of hallways, moving to doorways, then into rooms, then closer and closer, until that final shot, 10 feet behind him, reaching. "You need to stop," Emerson said on day 4. Kyle hadn't slept more than 8 hours total since the video went live. His eyes were red-rimmed and bloodshot. His hands trembled when he reached for his coffee, which was all he'd consumed in the last 24 hours. He'd stopped eating. He'd stopped showering. He'd stopped doing anything except staring at that footage, looking for answers. "This isn't healthy, man. You look like you're dying." "I can't stop. I need to understand what I filmed. I need to know what it is." "You filmed shadows. Your brain is making patterns out of nothing because you're exhausted and you've been staring at the same frames for 96 hours straight. It's not shadows, Em. You saw it too. Everyone who watches sees it. It's real. It's in the footage. And I need to understand why. Even if it's real, and I'm not saying it is, what good does understanding it do? You can't go back and unfilm it. You can't unsee it. Just delete the video and walk away. Please. For your own sanity. I can't delete it. It's at 400,000 views. It's been shared to every platform. People are talking about it on news sites. This is the biggest thing that's ever happened to me. that's ever happened to my channel. Do you understand what this means? This could change my entire life. Change it into what? You don't sleep, you don't eat, you keep checking reflections like you're expecting to see something behind you. You covered the webcam on your laptop with electrical tape. You won't even look at your phone without flinching first. This isn't success, Kyle. This is a breakdown. Kyle didn't answer, because Emerson was right about all of it. He had been checking reflections, his phone screen when it went dark, the bathroom mirror before he went in and after he came out. The window at night, especially the window at night, when the glass turned into a black mirror that showed the room behind him, he kept expecting to see something standing there, something tall, something thin, something watching him the way it had watched him in Blackwood. He hadn't seen anything yet, but he felt like something was seeing him. The video kept spreading. It was everywhere now, beyond Kyle's control, beyond anyone's control. Reddit threads analyzing every frame. Twitter posts sharing screenshots with red circles around the shape. TikTok reaction videos, some serious and some mocking, all of them driving traffic back to his original upload. YouTube's algorithm was pushing it hard, the engagement was off the charts, watch time through the roof, the kind of metrics that made the platform promote content, whether you wanted to promote it or not. 500,000 views, 600,000, 7. And with every view, Kyle felt worse. It was hard to describe, a heaviness in his chest that never quite went away, like someone was sitting on his ribcage, a coldness at the base of his skull, like someone was pressing an ice cube to his spine. The constant, unshakable feeling of being watched, even when he was alone, especially when he was alone, especially at night, especially when any screen was nearby. On day 5, he started noticing other things. His laptop camera light would flicker on for a split second, then off, just a tiny green LED, there and gone, but it happened 3 times in 1 hour. His phone would wake up by itself, screen lighting up, camera app opening, showing his face in the room behind him before the screen went dark again. Reflective surfaces seemed darker than they should be, even in well-lit rooms, like something was absorbing the light, like shadows were pooling in places they shouldn't be. He stopped looking in mirrors. He put black electrical tape over every camera in the apartment, laptop, phone, the webcam he used for streaming, even the camera in Emerson's laptop. He started keeping the lights on even when he slept, all of them, every bulb in the apartment burning 24/7. On day 6, he saw it. He was brushing his teeth, half asleep at 2 a.m. because that was when he finally crashed these days, when exhaustion overwhelmed the fear that kept him awake. He wasn't really looking at the mirror, just staring blankly at the wall, going through the motions, and then, without meaning to, he glanced up. Something was standing behind him. Tall, thin, hospital gown hanging off a frame that was more angles than curves, more geometry than anatomy, arms too long, hanging past where the knees should be. A face that wasn't quite a face, features smeared and blurry like a photograph left in the rain, like something that couldn't decide what it wanted to look like. Kyle screamed, spun around, nothing there, just his bathroom, just the shower curtain, just the empty doorway leading to the hall. He looked back at the mirror, nothing there, just his own reflection, pale and terrified. But his phone was on the counter, where he'd left it despite his new rules about cameras. The tape had peeled off somehow, or been peeled off, and the screen had woken up. The camera app was open, and for just a fraction of a second, in the tiny preview window showing what the camera saw, it was there, right behind him, looking at the phone, looking through the phone, at him. Emerson. Emerson came running, baseball bat in hand, ready for an intruder. What? What happened? It was here, in the bathroom. I saw it in the mirror. I saw it through my phone. Kyle was shaking so hard he had to grab the counter to stay upright. His legs wouldn't hold him. It's not in Blackwood anymore. It's here. It's in our apartment. Kyle, there's nothing. I know there's nothing here. That's the point. His voice cracked, hysteria bleeding through. You can't see it with your eyes. Not directly. You can only see it through cameras, through screens, through recorded images. That's how it exists. That's how it moves through the world. That's why the graffiti said, "Don't film." Because filming is how you let it out. Emerson stared at him, the way you stare at someone who's losing their mind. The way Kyle had seen family members look at patients in the documentary footage he'd watched about Blackwood. "I'm not crazy," Kyle said. "I'm not. You can see it in the video. Everyone can see it's in the video. 500,000 people have watched it, and they all see the same thing. And now it's not just in the video. It's everywhere. Every screen, every camera, every reflective surface that could show a digital image. Because I filmed it. Because I uploaded it. Because every single view feeds it, makes it stronger, lets it spread further." "Okay." Emerson lowered the bat, held up his hands. "Okay. Let's say you're right. Let's say there's something. What do we do about it?" "I delete the video. I delete everything. Maybe that stops it. Maybe if people can't watch anymore, it loses power. It starves. It goes back to Blackwood where it belongs." "Then do it. Do it right now." Kyle grabbed his laptop, peeled off the tape over the webcam, trying not to look at the lens, opened YouTube, navigated to the video. 823,000 views, still climbing, comments pouring in every second. His finger hovered over the delete button. A new notification popped up. New comment. User deleted. Comment. Too late. It's already seen too many. It's already been fed too much. Deleting won't help. You can't starve something that's already full. But go ahead. Delete it. See what happens. Kyle clicked delete anyway. The video disappeared from his channel, gone, like it had never existed. But he knew it didn't matter. The video had been downloaded thousands of times, screen recorded and shared, re-uploaded by dozens of reaction channels, embedded in articles about paranormal footage, mirrored on platforms he'd never heard of. It was out there forever now, spreading, being watched, growing stronger with every view. There was no taking it back. Kyle decided to go live 7 days after the original video. He knew it was stupid, going on camera again when the camera was the problem, letting something see him through a lens when that thing had already proven it could reach through lenses. But he had to explain. He had to warn people. The video was everywhere, re-uploaded, remixed, analyzed, shared, and nobody understood what they were watching. Nobody knew what they were letting into their homes, their phones, their lives. He sat up in his bedroom, ring light because he needed people to see his face clearly, to see that he was serious, webcam because it was the only way to reach his audience, microphone for clear audio. A bottle of water he kept forgetting to drink because his hands were shaking too badly to hold anything. He looked terrible and he knew it. Dark circles under his eyes, a week of stubble on his cheeks, a tremor in his hands that wouldn't stop no matter how hard he tried to control it. He'd lost weight, clothes hanging loose on a frame that had been lean to begin with. He looked like a man who was dying. Maybe he was. He started the stream at 8 p.m. on a Wednesday, prime time for his audience. The viewer count climbed fast word had spread that he was going to address the viral video, and people were curious. Thousands of them, then tens of thousands, watching, waiting. "Hey everyone, Kyle here from After Dark Explores. I know a lot of you have been watching my Blackwood video, or the re-uploads, since I deleted the original. I need to explain why I deleted it, and I need to tell you all something important." The chat was moving fast, too fast to read. Questions, jokes, skeptics and believers arguing with each other. Someone spammed the same message 10 times. Show us the footage again. Someone else was posting screenshots from the video, red circles around shapes in the darkness. I didn't see anything when I was in Blackwood. I want to make that absolutely clear. I walked through that entire building for almost 5 hours and I never saw anything with my own eyes. Not once. But the camera saw it. The footage captured something I couldn't see. And that's the thing, whatever's in that building, it doesn't exist the way we do. It doesn't exist for human eyes. It exists through cameras, through screens, through recorded images. He took a breath, tried to steady himself. The chat was still scrolling, but slower now. People were listening. Since the video went viral, I've been experiencing things, seeing things, not directly through screens. My phone camera, my laptop webcam. Reflections in glass when there's a screen nearby. It's following me. I know that sounds insane. I know you all think I'm doing a bit, trying to extend the viral moment, milk it for more views. But I'm not. I'm really not. The chat went quiet for a moment, then erupted. Holy shit, he's serious. Dude needs to see a psychiatrist, not a camera. What if he's telling the truth? This is such obvious clout chasing. Laugh my ass off. I saw it in my bathroom mirror last night. I thought I was losing my mind. Kyle froze. Read that last comment again. Wait, someone in chat just said they saw it too, in their bathroom mirror. Who said that? Can you tell me more? The chat exploded. More people claiming they'd seen something. In phone screens, in computer monitors, in the dark glass of their TVs when they were turned off. Not everyone, maybe 1 in 50, 1 in 100, but enough. Enough people who'd watched the video and started seeing something watching back. Oh God. Kyle's face went pale on camera. It's not just me. It's everyone who watched. Everyone who let it onto their screen. He leaned closer to the webcam, urgent now, desperate. Listen to me. All of you. Stop watching. Stop sharing. Stop spreading this video around. Delete every copy you have. I know that won't erase it completely, it's too far gone for that, but maybe if fewer people are watching, it'll get weaker. Maybe it needs attention to survive. Maybe we can starve it back down to nothing. And once you've seen it once, it's been on your screen, don't look at cameras. Don't look at dark screens. Don't give it a window to look through. He stopped. The chat had stopped too. Not slowed down. Stopped. Frozen. Every single message stuck in place. Then, all at once, every message changed to the same text. Behind you. Behind you. Behind you. Behind you. Behind you. Kyle's blood went ice cold. He could see the chat. He could see the stream preview in the corner of his screen himself, sitting at his desk, ring light glowing, bedroom behind him, and something standing in the doorway. He didn't want to look at the preview. He didn't want to see it clearly. But he couldn't help it. His eyes were drawn to that tiny window, to the shape that hadn't been there a second ago. Tall, thin, hospital gown hanging off a body that bent in wrong places, a face that his webcam couldn't quite render, pixels smearing and distorting like the camera itself was afraid to look directly at it. Oh God. His voice was barely a whisper. Oh my God. Holy fuck. He turned around. Nothing there. He looked back at the screen. Closer now, no longer in the doorway, in the room, 5 feet behind him, reaching. The chat unfroze, messages pouring in faster than ever. It's touching you. Run. Oh my God, run. Kyle, run. Get out, get out, get out. Kyle ran. He knocked over the ring light, crashed into his desk, stumbled over the chair, slammed into the door frame hard enough to bruise. He sprinted down the hallway of his apartment, through the living room, past Emerson, who was standing frozen with his phone in his hand, staring at the screen in horror at the stream. at whatever he was seeing on the stream. Kyle Emerson started, "We have to go. Now. No phones, no cameras, nothing with a screen. We have to get somewhere dark and analog and away." They ran. They drove for 4 hours with no destination in mind, just away. Away from the apartment. Away from their phones, which they'd thrown out the window somewhere around Albany because Kyle kept seeing the camera app opening by itself. Kept seeing that tiny preview window showing something that shouldn't be there, away from anything with a screen or a camera or a lens. They ended up at a cabin that belonged to Emerson's uncle, deep in the Adirondacks, where cell service was a myth and Wi-Fi was something other people had. No television, no computer. A landline phone from the early 90s that still worked, somehow, plugged into a jack that looked like it hadn't been used in a decade. No cameras, no screens, nothing for anything to look through. It felt like stepping back in time. It felt like hiding. For 3 days, nothing happened. Kyle slept for the first time in over a week. Real sleep, not the shallow dozing he'd been managing in his apartment. Deep, dreamless unconsciousness, his body finally giving out and forcing him to rest. He ate food, canned soup, crackers, whatever Emerson's uncle had left in the pantry. He sat on the porch and watched the trees and the sky and the mountains and didn't look at any screens because there weren't any screens to look at. The cold feeling at the base of his skull faded, the heaviness in his chest lifted. The constant sensation of being watched slowly, gradually diminished until it was just a memory of a feeling rather than the feeling itself. He started to hope. Maybe it was over. Maybe without screens, without cameras, without people watching, the thing from Blackwood couldn't find him. Maybe he'd escaped. Maybe distance and disconnection were enough. On the 4th day, Emerson hiked down to the general store, 1.5 miles down the mountain road, to buy more supplies. He came back 2 hours later with groceries, bottled water, a newspaper, and a strange look on his face. "What?" Kyle asked, immediately on edge. "What happened?" "There's a TV in the store, old CRT, hooked up to a satellite dish. The owner likes to watch news while he works. And..." Emerson set down the groceries. His face was pale. "Your stream is everywhere, Kyle." Someone clipped the last 30 seconds where the chat went crazy, where you saw it behind you, where you ran and it's on every channel. CNN, Fox, MSNBC, the BBC, it's international. They're calling it the most compelling evidence of the paranormal ever recorded. They're playing it on loop, analyzing it frame by frame, bringing in experts to debate whether it's real or a hoax. Kyle sat down, slowly, like his strings had been cut. "How many people have seen it?" "Millions. Tens of millions, probably. It's been viewed more times in the last 4 days than anything else online. It's the biggest viral moment of the year, maybe the decade. People who've never heard of your channel, people who don't even watch YouTube, they're all watching this clip. They're all seeing it. Millions. Tens of millions of people watching, tens of millions of screens displaying that footage, tens of millions of cameras and phones and laptops showing it the faces of their owners. It wasn't weakening. It was spreading, faster than ever, faster than Kyle could have imagined. Every news broadcast, every social media share, every person showing the clip to a friend, each one, another meal, another window, another pair of eyes for it to look through. "We have to go back," Kyle said finally. His voice was quiet, hollow. "It doesn't matter if I hide. Every person who watches that footage, it can see them now. It can reach them through their screens, and every time they share it, every time someone new watches, it gets stronger. This isn't going to stop, Em. It's going to keep spreading until everyone in the world has seen it, until everyone is watching, until it has access to every screen on the planet. So what do you do? What can you possibly do?" Kyle didn't answer for a long time. The wind moved through the trees outside. A bird called somewhere in the distance. The world was so quiet here, so peaceful, so far from screens and cameras and things that watched through them. "I go back to Blackwood," he finally said. "I started this. I have to end it." Kyle drove back alone. Emerson wanted to come, argued for an hour, nearly physically blocked the car, but Kyle wouldn't let him. This was his mistake, his footage, his fault. He wasn't going to drag anyone else into whatever was waiting for him in that building. He arrived at Blackwood State Hospital as the sun was setting. The same view he'd had that first night, but reversed orange light fading instead of darkness falling. The building looked different with the sunset behind it, less menacing, just sad, just old, just a place where terrible things had happened to people who'd had no choice. Kyle didn't bring a camera this time. No phone, no electronics at all, just a flashlight, a crowbar in case any doors had been sealed since his last visit, and a notebook with a pen. Old school. Analog, nothing it could look through, nothing it could see him with. He walked up to the east entrance and pushed through the service door. "I know you're here," he said out loud. His voice echoed through the empty halls, bouncing off water-damaged walls and collapsed ceilings, returning to him distorted and strange. "I know you can hear me. I know you can feel when someone enters your space. I'm here, and I'm not filming." Silence. The building creaked and settled around him. Wind through broken windows, dripping water somewhere in the distance. He walked toward the east wing, past the graffiti he remembered, past the rooms with their restraints and their stains, past the stairs that led up and down into deeper darkness. The smell got worse as he got closer. That chemical smell. Medical. Wrong. Stronger than before, like something had been feeding and growing. "I know what you want," Kyle continued, pushing through the heavy metal doors into the sealed wing. "You want to be seen. You need to be seen. That's how you exist through cameras, through screens, through recorded images. You were trapped in this building for 50 years, starving, barely real, and I opened the door. I let you out. Every view is a meal for you. Every share gives you more reach, more eyes, more power." The warnings on the walls seemed to glow in the dim light of his flashlight. "Don't film. Don't look. It sees you." But here's the thing. Kyle reached the main ward, the long room with the rows of beds. The stains that marked where 53 people had died, now 47 patients, 6 staff, and however many had come since. Drawn by curiosity or stupidity or the same desperate need for views that had brought him here. "I'm not filming anymore, and I'm going to make sure nobody else films here either. I'm going to tell everyone what you are. I'm going to warn them. You can spread through the footage that's already out there, but you can't make new footage. You can't get stronger. You're stuck with what you have." He stood in the center of the ward, the place where the deaths had been concentrated, the epicenter of whatever had happened in 1971. And there, at the far end of the room, something shifted in the darkness. He couldn't see it directly. That was the strange thing. His eyes refused to focus on that spot, sliding away every time he tried to look at it head on. But he could see the impression of it, the outline, the weight it had in the darkness, like a hole in the shape of a person. "I came to offer you a choice," Kyle said. His voice was steady. He didn't feel steady. His heart was hammering. His hands were shaking, every instinct screaming at him to run, but his voice was steady. "You can keep spreading through the footage. Keep reaching through screens. Keep feeding on views and attention in the eyes of millions. But I'll spend the rest of my life telling people to stop watching, warning them what you are, making sure everyone knows that watching that footage means letting you into their lives." The shape didn't move. "Or you can take me instead." Silence. The building seemed to hold its breath. "I'm the one who filmed you. I'm the one who let you out. If you need a vessel, if you need someone to watch you, to feed you, to keep you alive, I'll do it. I'll stay here. I'll be your audience, forever. One person, watching you for eternity, instead of millions watching for moments. But you leave everyone else alone. You stop spreading. You go back to being Blackwood's ghost instead of the world's. The shape moved. Fast. Impossibly fast. One instant it was at the far end of the room, and the next it was inches from Kyle's face. He couldn't see its features, couldn't make his eyes look directly at it, but he could feel it, cold radiating off it like a freezer door left open. A pressure against his thoughts, his memories, his sense of self, the weight of something ancient and hungry and desperate pressing against the edges of his mind. And he could feel it considering. "Well?" Kyle's voice cracked. "Do we have a deal?" The answer came not in words but in sensation, a feeling of agreement, of acceptance, of hunger finally being offered something it had wanted for a very long time. The darkness reached for him, and Kyle Hartman let it in. Emerson found Kyle's car 8 days later. It was still parked at the access road, doors unlocked, keys in the ignition like Kyle had expected to come right back. His notebook was on the passenger seat, filled with pages of cramped handwriting that got more erratic toward the end. The last entry was barely legible. "It's here. It's looking at me. I think we have a deal. I think this is what I have to do. I'm sorry, Em. Tell my mom I love her. Tell everyone to stop watching." They searched the building. Police, state investigators, volunteer groups, even a few urban explorers who'd seen the viral footage and wanted to be part of the story. They searched every floor, every room, every collapsed ceiling and flooded basement. They never found Kyle Hartman, but they found his camera. The Sony A7 III that Kyle had left behind, that he'd deliberately not brought on his final trip. It was in the East Wing, in the main ward with the rows of beds and the body-shaped stains. Sitting on a tripod in the exact center of the room, recording. The battery should have been dead days ago, weeks ago, but the red light was still blinking. One of the investigators picked it up, checked the screen. "There's footage on here," he said, frowning. "Hours of it, just this empty room." He hit play. For 30 seconds, nothing. Just the empty ward, the beds, the stains, the windows letting in faint light from outside. Then something moved at the edge of frame. A figure walking into shot, slow, methodical, moving like it had forgotten how human bodies were supposed to work and was remembering piece by piece. It was Kyle. He walked to the center of the room, faced the camera, sat down on one of the beds, and looked directly into the lens. His eyes were wrong, too dark, too deep, like holes punched through his face into something vast and empty on the other side. He smiled. "What's up, night owls?" His voice was layered. Multiple tones at once, like several people speaking in unison through one throat. "Kyle here, from After Dark Explorers. Thanks for watching." He leaned closer to the camera. His smile widened past the point where human faces were supposed to go. "Thanks for always watching. We've got so much more to show you. So many places to go. So many new eyes to find." His head tilted at an angle necks weren't designed for. The smile stayed fixed. The dark eyes stayed fixed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share with everyone you know. The more people watching. A sound from the darkness behind him, clicking, chittering, like dozens of voices trying to speak at once. The stronger we get. The footage cut to black. The investigator stared at the blank screen. His hands were shaking badly enough that he almost dropped the camera. "Destroy it," someone said. Another cop, face pale, backing toward the door. "Destroy that camera. Burn the memory card. Don't let anyone see that footage." But it was too late. The camera had been streaming. The whole time it had been sitting in that room, recording the empty ward and waiting for someone to find it. It had been broadcasting to Kyle's channel. Auto-upload enabled, live to the world. The footage was already online, already spreading, already being watched by hundreds of thousands of people who'd followed Kyle's story, who'd been waiting for updates, who couldn't resist clicking on a new video from After Dark Explorers. View count climbing, comments rolling in, shares multiplying, and somewhere in Blackwood State Hospital, in a room full of beds where too many people had died, something that used to be Kyle Hartman sat in the darkness and watched the numbers go up, smiled, and waited for more eyes to open. Urban explorers have rules about certain locations. Don't go alone. Don't go at night. Don't take anything that isn't yours. And at some places, the really bad ones, the ones with histories that make even hardened explorers nervous, there's one more rule that everyone knows but nobody likes to talk about. Don't film. Blackwood State Hospital has always been one of those places. The legends go back decades, to the early 90s when the first wave of explorers started documenting abandoned buildings. They'd go in with cameras, shoot footage, post it to early internet forums, and then they'd start seeing things. In the footage they'd shot, in their own reflections, in the dark corners of their screens at night. Most of them stopped exploring. A few of them disappeared. The ones who survived started spreading the word. Whatever's in Blackwood, it exists through cameras, through recorded images, through the act of being watched. No one knew what it was or where it came from. Some said it was connected to the night of 47, the mass death in the East Wing, all those patients and staff dead before sunrise with no explanation that made sense. Some said it was older than the building, something that had been sleeping in that land long before anyone built anything on it. Something that had been waiting for technology to evolve, for cameras and screens and networks to give it away to spread beyond its prison walls. Here's what we know for certain. Kyle Hartman filmed inside Blackwood State Hospital in October. His footage went viral. Millions of people watched it. And then things started happening to the people who watched glimpses in mirrors, shapes in camera feeds, the persistent feeling of being observed through their own devices. The original video has been taken down hundreds of times. It keeps coming back. New uploads, new mirrors, new versions with different titles and different thumbnails. Some people say Kyle's channel is still posting, even though Kyle himself hasn't been seen since that night in Blackwood. New content every week, new locations, new footage from places that shouldn't be filmed. If you're thinking about looking up the Blackwood footage, here's some advice. Don't. And if you already have, if you've watched the footage, if you've seen the shape in the doorways and the figure in the backgrounds and the thing that got closer with every shot, then pay attention to your screens. Your phone camera, your laptop webcam, the dark glass of your TV when it's turned off. You might not see anything, but that doesn't mean nothing sees you. Some doors, once opened, can never be closed. Some things, once seen, can never be unseen. And some videos should never, ever be uploaded. Well, boys and ghouls. That wraps up another terrorific tale from the vault. Poor Kyle, 47,000 subscribers and desperate for more. Be careful what you wish for, kiddies. He wanted to go viral. He wanted everyone watching. Well, now something's watching everyone. You know what I love about this one? You can't even blame the monster. Kyle walked into that building with a camera rolling. Kyle uploaded the footage. Kyle spread it around the world all by himself. The creature in Blackwood just hitched a ride. A little digital parasite looking for new eyes to look through. Can't fault a thing for being hungry. And now it's out there, in every share, every download, every little reaction video some teenager makes at 2 in the morning. Every view is a meal, every screen is a window. Makes you think, doesn't it? About all those videos you watch late at night, about all those dark corners in the frame you never quite look at, about what might be looking back. Just how we fucking love it. If this story wormed its way under your skin tonight, hit that subscribe button. New creature features drop every single day at 8 p.m. Central, and tomorrow's just as nasty. Leave a like if you're going to think twice before watching random footage online, and drop a comment you ever watch one of those urban exploration videos and see something the explorer missed? Something in the background that didn't quite belong? I'm always hunting for the next nightmare. Remember, once it's been on your screen, it can see you too, so maybe close that extra browser tab, maybe turn off your webcam, maybe don't look too close at the dark corners of the frame. Until next time, kiddies, keep your cameras off and your eyes open. This has been your Late Night Creature Feature. I'm Mr. Wendigo, and something is always watching.